Has anyone ever said to you, acroyoga isn't yoga?
Oh, yeah, many times. Yeah.
What's your response?
Okay, having a yoga background and doing all my studies in India and traveling to India every year for about a month for the past few years, to some extent I have to agree. However, the reason why it's called acroyoga is because there are things from yoga. So there is this extreme body awareness. You have to have that or develop that body awareness to be a good acroyoga practitioner.
That's Giulia Babolin, and this is the Yoga Life podcast. The older I get, the more alone I feel. That's something I said on a previous episode of this podcast. And while that's a true statement, being alone is not necessarily the same as being lonely. I know this is starting off quite dark, but when you get older, as you probably know, depending on what age you are, you know more people, but you're not as close to as many people. So typically in school, my experience, had a big group of mates. We did everything together. And then university, I knew some people, not as many. Work, a handful of people. And then eventually, if you decide to work for yourself, especially in the line of work I do, you don't actually have a team. You don't meet your peers only briefly, because it's quite a transient lifestyle. And I think yoga is fantastic for introspection. I think it's really good practice to get comfortable in your own company. But I think it's important to be mindful of being too comfortable or too used to your own company and losing the skill, the ability to cooperate, to get on with other people. This sounds like something, I'm a very sociable person. It sounds like something you take for granted, particularly if you're quite outgoing, which I am generally. But I remember when I worked for a software company and I didn't speak to anyone really all day. I was pretty much, the room was completely silent and everything was done for instant message. And I actually started to lose my ability to interact with people. So if I bump into someone on the stairs, like the maintenance guy, I couldn't do small talk. I'd started to lose that skill, which I always just took for granted that I'd be able to have. And I think that although the practice of yoga is fantastic for the self, if the self does exist, that's another story. I think that we could do a little bit more to interact with each other. So when you go to yoga class, you don't need anyone else necessarily. Typically, you just put your mat down, do your practice, roll your mat up and go home. This is why I think a lot of communes and retreats and coffee shops combined with yoga studios are doing quite well. But if you don't have that, because people want to meet each other, we don't realise it, sometimes we don't want to say it, but we want to chat to other people more than just the superficial. We want to get to know other people and build relationships. We all have that need as humans. And I also feel that in the culture of Ireland, England, I put them in the two, we don't have, this sounds like a tangent, but it's not, a dance culture. And the dance culture we do have is one where we dance as individuals. So whether it's rave music, I don't know what they call it now, dance music I suppose, but in the 90s you call it rave. And or you dance with maybe like Irish dancing, or in Ireland, or Morris dance in England, where you dance in a line, like line dancing, and you're pretty much on your own generally. It's not like the tango, and therefore we're a little bit uncomfortable with touch, and we associate touch sometimes to be a sexual thing, and this is a real shame. This is why I think acroyoga is an interesting topic, and how acroyoga is taken off in Ireland. Because when I did my 300-hour teacher training, we did tons of acro. And I didn't even think for a moment about, is this yoga, is it not yoga, or why are we doing this? I did it because it helped to break down the barrier between me and the other teachers, and it was fun. The movements were very similar to an asana practice that we were doing for that month, and I really enjoyed it. I think there should be room in your yoga practice for being a bit silly, for not the days of having a guru and they're at the top of the class, they know everything and they're all wise and no one else knows nothing and everyone asks them questions. I think those days are fading, where we've had enough of being told what is wrong, what is right, and having to follow someone. And I think the more flat structure of people, we all have information at our fingertips, and therefore yoga teachers now are more, in my opinion, yoga sharers. They're not the guru thing. It doesn't work, especially the whole Catholic Church thing in Ireland. That's another story. But I'm going off on one in a little bit. So acroyoga, it's if you've never done it before, it's a bit like a very basic Cirque du Soleil if you were to do it for the first time, and it involves partner work. Typically, you have a spotter, and I think that it's something that combines dance, almost circus, and yoga acrobatics together. So this is why I brought Giulia on, because Giulia is one of the main people in Ireland that teaches acroyoga. So I think that it deserves more attention than what it's getting, and I hope you enjoy the conversation with Giulia. So the sponsors for today, the people that are helping to bring you this podcast by kindly supporting me in a financial way are Om Apparel and 108 Asana Yoga Sequencing Cards. So let's start with Om. Gentlemen, do you like to be comfortable, look good, and support a sustainable environment while practicing yoga? Ladies and gents, do you have a man in your life that you'd like to get on the mat and look fresh at the same time? You do? Well, Om create high quality men's apparel with movement in mind. I wear Om Clobber myself, as you've probably seen, on and off the mat. My favourite combo is my Dawn Henley shirt and my black Voyager trousers. So comfy, quality, stylish, and good enough to rock during your post-practice coffee too. If you want to avail of one of their clothing items, then you would go to om.com/the Yoga Life podcast. Check out the full range of eco activewear, and if you put in the promo code Kevin, Kevin, my name, at checkout, you get 15% discount. So that's Kevin for 15% discount. Not bad, is it? Next we have 108 Asana Yoga Sequencing Cards by Yogaroo. Similar to Om, I met the founder, Ruth Delahunty, a few weeks ago. We had a cup of tea and I had some grub, and we talked about the future and what we can give the yoga community. What can you add? Instead of always just consuming like sometimes we do, what can we produce? So Ruth, with her company Yogaroo, have produced a beautiful set of cards that you can buy, and these are beautifully crafted. They come in this turquoise box, and they're a set of cards that allow you to plan your classes better, so you can lay them all out on the floor and get an idea of how you're going to sequence your class. And also you can start to develop your own home practice, because doing yoga online is definitely great, that has its benefits, but it's not self-led really, because you're essentially doing it remotely. So with this way, you can carve out your own home practice and have your warm-up, your standing poses, your back bends, forward folds, your cool downs, and actually understand the technical sides of it as well. So the alignment cues, the level guides, the anatomy coding, and the Sanskrit and English, which is one that a lot of people tend to struggle with. So in order to avail of Ruth's lovely product, you can go to kevinboyleyoga.ie. Simply go to choose your cards, your set of cards, and then put in the promo code Kevin, same again, for 10% discount. So once again, that's yogaroo.ie, promo code Kevin for 10% discount. So there you go. Let's go and bring along Giulia. Hey, Giulia.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, finally. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, we work in the same studio, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We have never crossed paths, really.
No.
Except for a workshop, I think. We were together at Patrick's Beach.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Workshop.
Mhm.
But we never really introduced each other officially, properly.
Yeah, it was so busy. There was like
Yeah.
60 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Insane. Insane. But you do acro, don't you?
Yeah, I do. That's my thing.
That's
Yeah.
your thing.
I do.
I was doing the extent of my research when I have people come over to the studio is I go on Instagram and then I'll probably Google to see if they have a website, and that's about it really. I get most information from Instagram. I think we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're the only acro certified trainer in the world?
No.
in Dublin, is it?
In Dublin, like I am the only Acroyoga international certified in Dublin. Yes,
Okay.
and one of the very few in Ireland. In the whole country, it's 4 of us, Acroyoga International. So obviously there are different schools, but with this specific school, which is one of the biggest one, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 4 of us in the whole country, and I'm the only one based in town.
In the whole country, did you say?
Only 4, in
Okay.
the whole Ireland,
Right,
yes,
okay.
in the whole country.
Yeah.
In Dublin, I'm the only one, and with this specific school, and also I've got a couple of certificates with those other schools. So I would say Acroyoga International and Partner Acrobatics are my 2, the schools I've been following and I've been training and getting my certificates with. Yeah.
When did you first start teaching acro in Ireland?
I actually started in Ireland only last year. For last year, I mean 2017. Now I'm just back from a bit of a winter break, so my timing is off. I came back to Dublin in October 2017, and by November I was already teaching workshops and all. So it's been a bit over a year now in Ireland. I was teaching back home in Italy before. I've been doing a bit of yogi traveling things for about a year as well, and that's also where I got some good teachings and intensives, a bit of retreats around the world.
I seen you were in Bali.
Yeah.
I'm going to Bali in May, and in fact, I have to book my accommodation. I've booked one, so I'm going for 2 weeks. I've booked the second week, but I haven't booked the first week. I actually left a message on your Facebook today. I'll have to ask you about it later, about accommodation you stayed at with a really nice pool.
I got that a lot. I got a lot of messages about that one. I think they should have given me a percentage or something. I'm just joking. Yeah, it was a very cool place. It was actually in Canggu, down south. And it was my birthday, so that was my birthday present, really. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was a cool place,
A birthday present?
Yeah.
From someone that really loves you, must be. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that little pool with that little villa. That was the present.
That's cool. Well, it's funny you say that, because Bali was a present from my girlfriend for my birthday, so which is like in a week. But I thought, that's a fine present. I'll accept.
Yeah, I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It seems to be a real haven for yoga, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, Bali is. I was there in low season, off season, so...
Which is when?
Which is basically our winter.
Okay.
So January, when I was there, is still low season. Now is still low season, so high season would be our summer, so June, August. Where Bali gets super, super popular. It is still popular, it's low season, but there's, it's quieter. I preferred it. Like, we still had rain and all, but there were less people.
Yeah.
So
did you go there to study or to teach?
No, I was just holiday. It was holiday.
Okay.
Yeah, I've during my I like to call it winter break. I was in India for my 300 hours, my advanced teacher training for a month, and then I went a few other places, then Thailand for another training. I was there as a student, as in I was there to learn, and then Bali was just holiday and to check out a few places. Yeah.
Is there much acro yoga going on there?
There is in Canggu, I would say, more than Ubud. We have been in Ubud and Canggu, but yeah, I haven't done much. No, I haven't done acro in Ubud actually for my time there, but I did some in Canggu. Yeah.
Well, since you started teaching, and because I think when people are on holiday, they're probably a bit more relaxed, they're a bit more open to trying new, unusual things.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about how receptive people are to doing acro in Ireland. So what's been the reaction when you've told people you're an acro teacher or trying to share the message about acro? How have people responded generally?
It's been a very interesting journey actually. So the reaction has always been like, oh, wow, acro, I've been wanting to do this for so long, and finally I found a class or a teacher in town I can join. With acro though, not just in Ireland, in general, there is a bit of this probably conflicting perception of it, because on one side you have those people get super excited about just the idea of doing it, while other people before doing it, they all think, oh, that looks scary, or oh, that looks hard, because obviously you're working with someone else. And if you have a very solid yoga practice, it's something very different. And then I got a lot of, oh, I might not be strong enough, or I might not be flexible enough, which I still get in yoga anyway. But then there is also that extra component of, I might be too heavy for this.
Yeah.
So, the message I'm always trying to convey and to communicate to the people who share with me this message is, acro is really for everyone. So with acroyoga, the beauty of acroyoga is that, yeah, it does look cool and potentially scary, but there is a lot of technique behind it. So it's not just a lot of flexibility and strength as it might look. There is actually technique, and that's why there are courses, classes, and workshops I always invite to participate, not necessarily mine, but in general, because there's so much more than just what people think there is. There's a lot of technique that makes things possible. So even and that's also the beauty of it. So people come to my classes, and then they might come from this perception of, oh, okay, I'll just check it out. Let's see how it goes. And then on the very first trial, maybe not first one, but second one, boom, they are up. Or they're flying people, like they're lifting someone else on their feet. So, and it's amazing to see the smile on their faces, being like, wow, actually this is possible. I've just done it twice, like try twice, second go, bam, go. And also, another thing I always share with my students at the very beginning of the class, especially beginners group, is that we are always working with spotters, meaning there's always this safety net, this third person that participates in the pose. So everything happens in a very safe way. We want to play safe, obviously. So that's really what we're aiming and where we're going.
Why do you think acro is needed?
I think acro is needed because there's so much more in it. So it's not just, yes, like I said before, beautiful to see and to practice. Within acro, there is this, it opens up a whole new world, to be honest, because there is this mutual trust, which is at the very foundation of it. Like, you need to trust the other person to make things happen, and you need to trust yourself to make things happen, because if you keep repeating yourself, I'm too heavy for this, or I'll never make this, or it's just too hard, it's not going to happen. So it requires this trust factor, which I think is very well needed also outside of the practice, outside of the studio or the mat.
Oh yeah.
And also it somehow shrinks down our comfort zone, because we need to somehow allow someone else, which might not even know, we might not know their names, within our comfort zone again, to make acro happen. I think this is really beautiful, a really beautiful component of acroyoga. And another beautiful thing is also that acroyoga at the same time, because it's happening between 2 or more people, it allows us to obviously socialize, finding maybe a different way to perceive other people and to communicate with them, which we might not know it's already within us. So I found myself, I used to be one of these people, don't touch me. So I don't even have the time to talk to you, so that kind of people. While obviously with acro, I had to relearn how to approach others. And now I think, I think I've done quite a good job in at least welcoming people with a smile. And also if things don't happen, for example, rather than saying, this is your fault, you should do this better, a very nice way to approach this would be, what could I do better for you? Which is a very different attitude, which I personally learned from acroyoga.
Yeah. Like if you're the baser, for example, and you're doing bird, I think it's called bird. Yeah. You could always do something with your feet to help the person, as opposed to expecting them to move their arms or their legs. Yeah. For you, it's actually a small movement. But then I noticed when I did acro in my Bryce 300 hour, I remember I was one of 2 guys there. So, I was the baser because I have stronger legs than most. So it was me then being used as a baser by about 5 different women, and I remember at one stage I was like, my hamstrings are going to give out, but my flyers were expecting a lot from me. But I think that's just because where we see some spectacular things, and therefore expectations are really high, and it requires it when you're the baser quite a lot of foot dexterity and be able to move your point and flex your feet while bearing a lot of weight. Well, it depends. Yeah. So I do agree with you that trust is a really important thing to practice, because when you go to a yoga class, a typical yoga class, you are on your own. And if you're going in a studio where there isn't a cafe or isn't a social area, you go do yoga, go home, you don't speak to anyone really. Yeah. And also the other thing of physical touch. Yeah. Learning how to, because if you look at Ireland as a culture, and England as well, England we have Morris dancing, which is a traditional dancing where it's a bit like line dancing, where you stand next to each other. And then in Irish dancing, the river dance isn't really traditional. Traditional Irish dancing, you stand in a line as well, hands by your side. So the idea of touching other people and coordinating, and almost like dancing, because it is a bit like contemporary dance. When you frame that as yoga, people are maybe more willing to try it. I know I would. If my girlfriend said, do you want to go to contemporary dance class? I would say, no, absolutely not. Do you want to go to acroyoga? Yeah, right.
Let's go.
So, but it's a similar thing of ebb and flow between 2 people, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's also this thing. Yeah, you mentioned it somehow. It's teamwork. So yeah, there is physical contact, and there is nothing to blame. Obviously, there is something better we can all do, but there is always room for improvement if things don't happen. But it's me working with you. It's not me working against you. So it's both people benefits to do their best, or to somehow to trying to accommodate the other person. Also, another thing I wanted to add to this is acroyoga, because it happens between more people, also shows us somehow where, at the same time, where our limits, but also where our potentials sit. Because when we think, I'll never be able to do this, and then when finally things happen, you do see, okay, that there was that potential I didn't even see. On the other side, when we step into the room, we might have a big ego. Okay, we're humans, right? But then again, some things are possible. Not everything is possible for everyone. I'm a big, tall girl. Some things I just can't do. I'm not very flexible either. So I will never reach my head with my toes from the back. So there's just things I won't do. And that humbles me a lot in that sense, because if I try and keep trying on my own solo practice, whatever is my own thing. But if I bring this kind of attitude in an environment where I have to share spaces and hold spaces for other people, that won't work, you know? So I think that teaches a lot also in that sense. Yeah. Which probably is again much needed.
Definitely.
Outside of the practice.
Has anyone ever said to you, acroyoga isn't yoga?
Oh yeah, many times. Yeah.
What's your response?
Okay, having a yoga background and doing all my studies in India and traveling to India every year for about a month for the past few years, to some extent I have to agree. I mean, yoga is a philosophy. Yoga has a very long history. I mean, that's centuries of history, and there are books and scriptures behind it, and everything is codified. Acroyoga is something a lot more traditional. As far as I know, it's been, well, for the school I come from the background I come from, so Acroyoga International, Acroyoga, as we know it today, has been codified in 2006, so it's quite recent compared to the mama yoga, obviously. However, the reason why it's called acroyoga is because there are things from yoga. So there is this extreme body awareness. You have to have that or develop that body awareness to be a good acroyoga practitioner. And that same principle of yoga, which not everyone knows of, yoga is just for yourself. It's not the pose. It's not about how the pose looks. It's how the pose feels. It's not even about the pose itself. It's a state of mind. It's your own lifestyle. That also somehow steps into the acro yoga, because it's not about, oh yeah, let's do this trick and bang our heads against this until it's done just for the beauty of, I don't know, the picture, whatever. It's not that, obviously. It's trying to explore with our bodies and see how we can make something together with my skills and your skills, So, yeah, I mean, if we have to compare the history of the two and, all the scriptures that are behind them and philosophy, yeah, I have to agree, acro yoga in that sense cannot be compared. But yeah, having a yoga background might help to some extent, because that gives us already that body awareness, that understanding of how our body reacts to some inputs, and how to adjust our body in space, which really happens on the mat, even in our solo practice. Yeah.
If someone was considering going to an acro class, okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here. If I was in an acro yoga class, if I was a guy, I would think, part of me maybe would think, I don't want to go on my own because I'm going to be like very intimate with those women I don't know. Would that make them feel uncomfortable? So, I mean, yoga already makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. I'm not me now, obviously, but like at one stage. And, or if you were a girl or anyone, you might think, it's sort of scary, I'm not strong enough, I haven't got the balance, or whatever it may be. So what would you say the things people need to know, if there were like 3 or 4 things that someone needs to know before they go to an acro class, what should they be aware of before they go?
Yeah. So one thing I always say is, especially in beginner classes, is no previous experience in acrobatics or yoga is needed to make the best out of the class or to enjoy the class. And also, it's not needed to come with a partner. Actually, in every event I create, every promo, flyer, whatever I create, I always state that no experience, no partner needed. That's very important to know. I get that question a lot. Do I need to come with a partner? Because people think right away, oh, it's a partner work, so I might need to come with my own mat and partner. No, we do provide mats most of the time and partners, as in there are a lot of people joining just by themselves in the room. And then once in the room, people will end up pairing up each other and work, actually finding their trios, because like I said at the very beginning of this conversation, we always work with spotters, so there will never be only 2 people anyway on the mat. And that's also another learning from acro yoga, being aware of the surroundings, being aware of who is next to me. People, this might not sound the way I want to say it, but people become some sort of props and tools, as in we want to find those people, okay, I know I could work with this because they are my similar size. So it's a good decision. It's a wise decision trying to lift someone my size before going for the biggest guy in the room, and showing everyone I'm strong and want to lift him up. And also, I usually join, and in the past and also now, I usually join. My partner doesn't do much acroyoga, so I keep saying he just does it just to please me somehow. So I end up joining trainings, teacher trainings, retreats, everything by myself. And the amount of friends I've made, wow! Because you have to break the ice. I mean, acro is an awesome way to break the ice.
Yeah, it really
Just
is.
go there, introduce yourself. Either it's a jam at the park, very informal, or a teacher training. You need to connect with people.
Yeah.
So if you go by yourself, that happens right away. If you go with your own partner, I'm not saying it's bad. It's fantastic finding that connection with your own partner in life or friend. But that connection, when it happens with a stranger, is like, wow, I actually, maybe at the end of the session, you're like, I can't even remember their names, but fine, they're friends. Like, I've felt that connection, and that's beautiful. I think that's really something I've never felt with anything else in terms of, okay, yoga is a solo practice. I come from a very strong and long agonistic background. I used to play volleyball at professional level when I was 16 and all. Obviously, there was like a sisterhood relationship with my teammates, but I'd been growing over years. I've been playing with these girls for like 5, 6, 7 years. We still hang out when I go home, they're still my best friends. But that's that sort of connection you create, training after training, sharing emotions, tears and laughters, victories and loss. So it's a different kind of connection. It's strong, of course, but you took your time to build it up. Well, with acro, obviously, I can't compare the kind of connection, but it is still a very strong human connection, which might happen within the hour. And I think that's fantastic. And then, okay, you don't have to become best friend with everyone, but some people, you might not see them anymore, but other people might become very good friends. And honestly, I see now there are gyms in town, which either myself or other people organize. And the people who go most of them used to be my students. And then they just now hang together because they met in the studio, they became friends, they realized, okay, you know what? We are already a little community. And we can just take this and go at least train and practice outside together. And they're still very good friends, it looks like so. And they train together, they practice together. There is a beautiful atmosphere and connection between them. So.
It breaks that initial barrier that people have about starting the conversation. Yeah. I mean, when I used to train jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu is close grappling, very close submission grappling. And you get to know someone really quickly. You almost can learn about the person without saying that much, just through touch and and I think that's we don't get a chance to do that enough in a platonic way. If you know what I mean, it's like, I think that's why events are becoming so popular. Retreats, for example, and people want to connect with people in a more immersive way, not just go to a class and go away. Have you hosted any retreats?
I've been assisting immersions, which is pretty much it's a non-residential retreat, so it's few days intensive. So people will train and practice together for about 7 hours per day for a full 4 or 5 days, depending on the setup. That was, it wasn't my own. I wasn't the leading teacher, but I was part of the teaching team.
So what does non-residential mean?
Non-residential, sorry. It means everyone has their own accommodation. They won't be sleeping in the same space.
Okay.
It's not like a sort of the standard idea of a retreat where everyone comes together and has their own room, whatever, in that same environment.
And where was it?
I did many. I did as a student, and I did as assisting teacher.
Oh, okay.
We actually had one here in Ireland, in Dublin, in October. Yeah.
Whereabouts?
We were hosting it at the Yoga Hub, so the classes, 7 hour sessions would happen in the studio.
A day retreat. People go for the whole day.
Yeah. So these immersions are some sort of urban retreat because they usually happen in cities, and people just take care of their own accommodations, but then we meet every morning at 9, and then we keep training and practicing until 5, 6. But then on the other hand, I've been as a student in a lot of them, also residential. So yeah, you do. I mean, at the end of it, after a week or maybe 4 weeks, because teacher trainings will be 4 weeks. It's pretty much saying goodbye to your family, or see you later to your family, because it's intense. Yeah.
What for 2019? What do you have planned in terms of events
So I will be based here in Dublin, so I'll be keeping running events, courses in Dublin, in town mostly. I usually work with a couple of different studios. Right now I have this beginner course going on Monday evenings at the Yoga Hub. There will be for sure more courses. So the way I usually offer Acroyoga is in 4 to 6 weeks course. The reason being behind it, and I always share this with studios, but also with students, is in order to keep. I want obviously the best for my students. So if I create an open level course, which could still work, but then you might have drop-ins every now and then the level consistency won't stay. You need to keep the level consistency and make sure that the group grows together, so that you can offer things and you know what they have covered already and what they haven't. So I usually offer these 6 to 4 weeks, so that gives people an idea of how much commitment they need, so they know, okay, once a week for the next 6 weeks I have this.
Yeah.
And then also I don't allow drop-ins after a certain amount of weeks. So say after 1 week, week 1 or 2, drop-ins will be closed, so that the group really can make the best out of the 1 hour and a half, 2 hours we have together weekly, because I know the people. I get to know the people obviously by looking and observing, and they know each other, so they've been calibrating with each other. They know what they can do, what the potential of the group is. So you stop thinking of yourself as one person within a group, but do you really start thinking the group as a whole, and so there will be more courses. So nothing that I can announce right now, but there will be more courses within the studios I've been teaching in so far. I think, and workshops, absolutely, also one-off, so that people can just come, get a taste of it, and then decide, okay, I want or don't want to commit for more weeks.
I think that this area is growing in popularity, because I've seen that in March they're having the Dublin Circus Festival. I think it's the first ever one.
It will be actually. Okay, if that is one thing I might not know. What I know is the Irish Acro Convention.
Oh, is that it? What month is that?
May. And I'll be teaching there as well, yeah.
Okay, well, there is that, but there's also the Dublin Circus Festival, definitely in March.
Fab. So I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so I don't know if I imagine you can actually partake. You're not just watching. I think you actually do it, which is really cool. I mean, that must be good for acro. Yeah. Because it's similar, isn't it? That.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of. I'm not knowing the event itself, so I can't say for sure. It's definitely that. But yeah, I mean, the backgrounds that come together in acro are from yoga to martial arts to rock climbing to slackline and circus, obviously acrobats. And I've been practicing with professional obviously I'm not at that level, but professional acrobats, circus people, and people who do slackline from like within a canyon, like crazy thing. Like I just do acro. But it's beautiful also that many different backgrounds and disciplines, practices come together, and oftentimes you end up climbing or slacklining that you've never tried, just because there is a slackline there and people do that, so you try, so it's also an opportunity for you to just get a better overview of things and
have fun as well, because the gym can be so boring, or even, you know what, even if you do a similar yoga practice over and over again, that can be quite boring. If you go to, it's good to mix things up and try things that you're going to find difficult, and find an element of play. Just even for the simple joy of just enjoying playing, I think is we don't get an excuse to do that enough as an adult. You know. So if people want to find out more about you, where do they go?
Everywhere. No, so they can find more things about me on social media. Like I said at the very beginning of this, Instagram says a lot. So Giulia Acroyoga, spelled with a Giulia Acroyoga. One A
in the middle.
Between the two words, exactly. On Instagram and Facebook, and I also have a website. A friend of mine finally helped me out with that. That's something I've been on for so long, and I kept postponing, pushing back. And my tea friend helped me finally. So www.juliacroyoga.com. Again, everything will be there, from my bio, knowing where I come from, what I've done so far, and to all the events.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for hosting this and me here.
There you go.
Awesome.
That's it. Easy, right?
Easy.
There it is. Hope you learned a little bit about acro. Maybe you give it a go now and won't be as fearful. It's good crack. I'd recommend it. Give it a lash. So to close off. Firstly, if you'd like to support this podcast directly, you can visit kevinboyleyoga.ie /support the Yoga Life podcast. And I've got a Patreon system set up there, not with Patreon themselves, because they're not for me. I work with DonorBox. I believe in free speech, and I'm going to do a podcast about that. But if you'd like to support directly, and you can do so by visiting there, I'd be massively grateful, and you'll be added to our private Facebook group, where we give you some secrets and kind of behind the scenes stuff about stuff that's going on with the podcast. I'm being quite mysterious. So to close off, I let me remind you of Apparel, men's clothing brand. I want to encourage more guys to get into yoga, like me, maybe like you, maybe like your significant other, and it's all done with the highest standards in mind. I mean, I went over to HQ last year to meet their founder, Louis. I was massively impressed by their conscientiousness and their ethical approach. It's all recycled paper packaging, recycled fabrics, done in the most eco-friendly way possible. So if you want to avail of their products, want to wear their clobber, go to om.com /the Yoga Life podcast, put in the promo code Kevin for 15% off your garms, as we used to say back in the day in London. So that's Kevin, 15% off for your clobber, your clothing, your threads. And last but most definitely not least, 108 Asana Yoga Sequencing Cards by Yogaroo. Irish-based company here down in Blackrock. I mean, I think design is so important, and Ruth is a former graphic designer. She does beautiful stuff. She also does teaching manuals as well, but maybe I'm going off script a little bit here. But she does nice stuff, and you'll see if you visit her site yogaroo.ie. She produces these sequencing cards that are so handy for your home practice, for planning classes, and you can take them away with you when you're traveling. You don't need a Wi-Fi connection wherever you are. Help you to understand and deepen your practice even more with your alignment cues, your anatomy coding, and all your English Sanskrit translations. So go to yogaroo.ie if you'd like to have a gander, and if you enter the promo code Kevin, you get 10% discount. Once again, that's Kevin for a 10% discount. Thank you all so much for listening. I really appreciate the questions that are coming through. I'm going to start doing more episodes of just me speaking. I'm going to and have guests still, but not as many. And so I think I have some things I want to share with you guys and start conversations about some topics that are on my mind. So if you want to send me any questions, that'd be fantastic, and we can do a Q&A. And also, if you want to contribute anything to the podcast, thoughts, comments, feedback, I'm always here listening. You can find me Kevin Boy Yoga on all platforms. Instagram is usually the handiest. Thanks again. Hope you have a great week. You're always appreciated. Take care.